Hi everybody, Joe DiRaffaele, DG Realty here in Las Vegas and Henderson. Today we have a special guest, my good friend, Rick Van Diepen. Rick is owner of Green Vision, and Rick's background is he is an architect and he currently specializes in green buildings. So today we're going to talk a little bit with Rick about some of the things that you can do with your property to make it more energy efficient, better for the environment and things of that nature. So Rick, we were talking earlier and you had a couple of ideas in mind, and obviously you're the expert. So if you were to give any tips to anybody out there, maybe I'm new to this, maybe I really don't know, but I want to do something to make my home more energy efficient, where would you start?
Thanks, Joe. Well, as you know, we had really good experience selling our house recently. We've gone through two deep energy retrofits, I call them, on two of our houses. The one we're living in now is 1963. And the one we sold last year with DG was a 1978 house. And what I always recommend, I'm a commercial architect by training, but my consulting company focuses on commercial green buildings, but I have a passion for residential homes as well. And our home has actually been on the Solar Home Tour in Las Vegas several times. It was actually featured on HGTV for a little segment on green homes.
Right on.
So that's a passion of mine. And what I always tell people is, when they think of green homes, immediately they think of like, oh, I need to put solar on the roof.
Okay.
And solar is great. I advocate that for every project, commercial or residential. But I always say the cheapest solar that you can buy, it is expensive in terms of return on investment. Right. The cheapest solar you can buy is always the solar that you don't have to buy.
Okay.
So by what I mean by that is, if you do the less expensive things to your house, the sort of off-the-shelf energy efficiency measures, those are always cheaper and a faster return on investment than going solar. And what that allows you to do is to buy a smaller system and still get the most value out of it.
So
if that makes sense.
what would be, one of the first things that you would do if you're not doing solar, but you want to make your home more energy efficient? What's a smaller scale thing than the big solar panels?
Sure, and in terms of resale, it's always better to see the shiny objects and the nice materials and everything that take pictures. You can't see insulation behind the wall,
right?
But that's really where you need to start. Is basic insulation, upgrading insulation in your attic is probably the first thing.
So I think of the temperature fluctuations here in Southern Nevada, and obviously we get really hot. What people don't realize is that the temperature does drop significantly at other times of the year. So the temperature from one time of the day to the other can be significant. So if somebody has an older home or maybe even a newer home that didn't have insulation put in the ceiling and in the attic and things like that, that's a good place to start?
Right, it's a great place to start. And really, adding insulation, getting at least 12 inches of insulation, which is an R40.
Mm-hmm.
That can be blown in, it can be blanket insulation. But so sort of starting at the top, start with your attic. Make sure it's ventilated well. You can buy electric attic ventilators, or you can buy a solar one, which is what we've done. And then also sealing your ductwork. If you see the registers in your ceilings, when they have a little dirt or dust gathered around them, what that means is your ductwork is leaking. So it's sucking in it's sucking in dust from your attic, but that also means that it's sucking in hot air from your attic.
So making your system work a lot harder then.
Right, yeah.
All right, so, and with the way the new homes are right now, the delta between the average resale home and that similar new home is about $150,000 difference in price. So it's a significant. So we're seeing a lot of people buying existing homes, updating them and renovating them. So you're saying in addition to the shiny things, like the things that you can see that make it look pretty, definitely look at something like the energy efficiency in the attic. You also mentioned something about paint.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them a little bit about the paints that you're recommending.
Yep, sure. So now we're kind of getting into the finishes, which is is always a good investment, right? So, but just like I talked about with the dusty registers in the ceiling and leakage with the ductwork, that also hurts your indoor air quality.
Mm.
People with asthma, folks with just sensitivities to different chemicals and dust mites, things like that. It really makes sense to make the indoor air quality of the house as high as you can. So even just buying higher quality filters, MERV 13 rated filters, you can get those at Home Depot. Those improve the indoor air quality of the house. They keep allergens out, pollen, things like that. But when we get down to the materials, Most paints are water-based, so that means they're low volatile organic compounds, they're low VOC paints.
Okay.
But we recommend you're really not spending anything extra to go ahead and get a zero VOC paint. You know, most renovation houses, especially resale.
VOC, was that the
VOC?
Okay.
Yeah. So most renovation houses, you know, typically they kind of wanted a little vanilla colored, a little bit generic. Well, those tans and white colored paints, you can get those in zero VOCs. That means there's zero chemicals that are gonna cause reactions.
Well,
So that's a great thing. And then, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, you think about our environment. We've got a lot of people that have allergies, desert allergies, and things like that. And sometimes the allergies could be coming from inside the home.
Right.
So a zero VOC paint, especially if you've got younger kids in the home that may be a little bit more allergy sensitive, that would make a big difference too.
Yeah, no, it would, and even if they're not sensitive, why
Right.
not use a healthier material if it's really not going to cost you much extra at all.
Well, we think back to the time where they thought lead-based paint was a good idea.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So we all know that, that's like a big disclosure issue for the older homes built before 78. So now we have even that next layer of making it that much better for you.
Right, exactly, and just in terms of the overall indoor quality. Our house was flooded with daylight. We had a lot of windows, and as you know, those take nice pictures and everything. But inevitably, there's a hallway, there's an interior bathroom. There are spaces that need could use some extra punch. And what we did is used tube skylights or solar tubes.
Okay.
So those provided natural daylight in those spaces, but they also allowed us to never turn the lights on in those spaces. So you're saving energy, it looks better, and so those are a really cheap investment as well. They don't leak like old-fashioned skylights and things like that.
And from a sales perspective, I love showing homes and being able to point out, hey, look at all the natural light pouring into the hallway or what have you, which ordinarily would be a very dark space.
Right, exactly. So it livens up those spaces that aren't usually very sexy.
Right on. Well, for all of you out there, first of all, thank you for taking time to listen to today's expert conversation with our expert in energy, Rick Van Diepen. I do want you to know that if you have any specific questions that you'd like to answer, anything you're thinking about, go ahead and send an email. You'll see the email address below, and I'll be happy to get that to Rick, and we'll get back to you with any answers that would be helpful to you. And if you're in the market, if you own a building, or maybe your business that you're involved in is buying a building or anything like that, and you are looking for a green energy guy to give some consulting on how to set the business up, the building up to be more efficient, to be more friendly to the environment and those kind of things, definitely I'd recommend obviously talking to Rick Van Diepen, and we'll have his info also below on the screen. So, Rick, I appreciate you taking the time to come out. Hopefully you learned a little something today, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you.